Week 5 is in the books, as are a lot of people's survivor hopes, including myself. A lot of teams went down: the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Rams, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of upsets or survivor pool changing losses happened in week 5. We're recording this after Thursday Night Football in week 6, in which another big upset happened. It's been a chaotic last week in the NFL. Myself, Erik Beimfohr, and Rob Coakley will break down everything that you need to know for your week 6 survivor pools, including some lessons learned from maybe some of our own mistakes in week 5 up to this point. Let's get right on down to the week 6 picks, strategy, content, and lessons. All right, Rob, week 6 survivor sad times for the both of us. Notably, we'll get into it, right? But notably, we're really excited for the Rams last Thursday night against the corpse of the San Francisco 49ers, who I can't figure out the 49ers to save my life. When everyone's healthy, they play terrible. When they're playing Kendrick Bourne and MVS, they beat the Rams on the road on Thursday Night Football on a short week, the full strength Rams. But I think there's some good lessons that we can talk about from last week, from week 5. But then also, right, we're recording this after Thursday Night Football in week 6. And if, of course, unless you're living under a rock, spoiler, the Eagles lost to the New York Football Giants as like 8-point favorites on the road. But I think there's a lot that we can kind of digest and dissect from week 5 and then from that Thursday Night Football game and take some lessons moving forward. I think both you and I are going to hop into some more survivor stuff. Obviously, we'll talk about every single week as if we had, continued to advance in our particular pools, but then also some of the new pools that we'll be entering for anyone else that picked the Rams or another team that lost last week or took the Eagles last night. But let's actually start with the Eagles and then double back to week 5. I had a buddy text me before the game last night, like, should I just take the Eagles, right? Because the Giants have no Malik Neighbors. They're not particularly a great football team. Then like Darius Slayton is out, and it's like, okay, yeah, the Eagles are pretty big favorites. I know it's a short week. But asking like, should I just take the Eagles, right? Because I don't feel that. I actually don't feel that comfortable ever really taking the Eagles. And I was like, don't do it. And I just don't do it. Like, I know it feels like, how could they possibly lose? But don't do it. Crazy things happen in these road divisional matchups on a short week. The people will say, right, the Rams were a divisional matchup on a short week as well, and we'll get to that. But what was your sort of, as the game is winding down in the fourth quarter, A.J. Dillon fumbles, the game is over. What a fitting way to lose. A.J. Dillon fumbles, the game is over. What are you thinking, like, from this survivor perspective? Because that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it. I actually was thinking about the Survivor show as that game was winding down. And my thoughts would have been, if we had talked about this game yesterday before it started, I would have referenced our Rams game that we're going to get to, but there's a difference here. This is a divisional road game. The Rams were at home, and I think that makes a huge difference. If the Eagles were at home against the Giants yesterday, and I know it's an hour drive, right? It's Philadelphia to New York, but it's still a road game, middle of the week. Their defense is not looking too great in Philadelphia, which is insane versus what they were last year. And it's funny that the Giants lose to the Saints last week, but the offense is kind of spunky, right? Like, they're going to hit some rough spots for sure. We know, like, don't expect them to be spunky every week. They're going to get clobbered, especially if Jackson Dart keeps taking the hits that he's taking on a week by week basis.
He headbutted a guy. Headbutted a guy.
But I would have, if you were adamant about taking the Eagles, I wouldn't have talked you off the ledge yesterday. But if you asked me outright, I would have said, let's wait till the weekend. Let's find a better spot during the weekend games, which is tough. It's a tough week overall. There's like one overwhelming favorite this week, but I still would not have taken the Eagles. And if you look, I went against one of my principles last week, and I got bounced because of it. We try to avoid divisional games if we can. It's just they always play different. It's just you never really want to go into those divisional games if you don't have to, unless there's special circumstances, which can probably segue us into this Rams game.
Right. I think it is the perfect segue in that how do you balance some special circumstances is the right way to put it, where you have these sort of, right, there's no such thing as a rule in any of this, right? Like I've taken a road team and won this year.
Sure.
We have taken divisional matchups, but in an ideal world, right, that's the rule premise, is like we really don't want to, we really would like to avoid this stuff, at least for as long as we possibly can. Road teams, right, divisional matchups, west to east, all that kind of stuff. But how do we balance, like last week, those, which of course the Rams were at home, right? And so theoretically, the short week is not as big of a deal for the home team, but it is still a short week, which can cause some variance as well. And the divisional component of it, how do we balance that with the special circumstances of, like the 49ers last week, just a litany of injuries, man. Like that was not the San Francisco 49ers, right? Now, they're wearing the jerseys and they won the game like the Niners do often, but that wasn't, right? That was Christian McCaffrey and Mac Jones and a group of vagabonds or whatever, right? Like they don't even have Bosa on defense. They don't, like, it was a very special set of circumstances. But should that have outweighed, right, the potential to wait and see? The fact that they weren't going to be low owned, we'll touch on that too. I actually thought they were not as owned as I thought that they were going to be. So like when we flipped over the cards, I didn't feel that bad. But how do we balance, right, all of these different things together? Because, which we'll also get to, it wasn't that easy to find a winner unless you did, one of the mega favorites last week. So how do we balance all that?
Yeah, and I think I think one of the main things that we should have looked at, and we talked about it on the show, is I really think it depended for that particular game under those circumstances. I would have liked to have known that Mac Jones saw a dead body that morning, because I would have, maybe
Especially
that changes my mind.
as a ghost as a ghost
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. I mean, now CMC is just consuming people and throwing them into the ocean. Like, what are we doing over here?
Oh
So
gosh.
I would have liked to know that. But the other thing that we hit on last week was, I think it really mattered if your survivor pool locked on Thursday or Sunday.
Yep.
I think that was huge. And you can look at it in our Discord. Some of the members that we have in our Discord, some of the locks that I saw across different tournaments, the Rams were in the 30s on the Thursday ones, but on the Sunday ones, like mine, they were only 17%. So I think you have to take that into account on Thursday night games as well. Like what your pool rules are really matters, like in the context of that. So if we knew we were getting 30 plus percent, then we can fade that and figure it out on Sunday. But if we were to go back without knowing the outcome of the game, but you gave me the percentages and you told me the Rams were going to be 17% owned in my pool, slam dunk, press the button, walk away, be done for the week. Like, but the outcome sucks. Can't win these every year. It's tough to win these in general.
Right. If it were so easy, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. We would be printing the money, right? Every single year. There would be no need to discuss the strategy. It would just be really easy to print the money. I also want to add to exactly what you said. So in the pool, the main pool that I've been in, which of course I'm no longer alive in, here were the top 5. We'll do the full top 5 in terms of ownership last week, and I'll give the actual ownership. The Arizona Cardinals were number 1 at 23%. They lost. Number 2, Detroit Lions. Okay, you say, like someone might say, just take the layup. That's the layup, right? The short week divisional game, even with the Niners roster and injury situation, is not the layup. The layup is the Lions. We talked about that too, where like the Lions are a team we're trying to win. The Lions are the team that I would really like to hold on to for as long as we possibly can. Doesn't mean you couldn't take them. 22% of this pool that I'm in took the Lions. So just a hair lower than the Arizona Cardinals. Tied for third was the Rams and the Indianapolis Colts at 18%. So they were tied for third. And I would argue at 18%, like, I don't know that I would change it. Like we could definitely, go back and forth on some different, some of the alternatives, of course, which we did last week. But it's easy to say, oh, you abandoned a rule, you got punished for it, you lost. But also part of the rule is ownership. Ownership matters too. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure that they should have been, tied for third or fourth highest, right? Like you said, in the 30% pools, where they're 30%, like, oof. Yeah, probably no. I don't want to abandon a rule for the stone cold chalk. Right. But abandoning a rule for, like, look what the Arizona Cardinals got you. A big fat L. Fifth on this list. Now, they were only 7%, but we talked about this one as well. And you called this one, was the Buffalo Bills. They were 5th. So of the top 5 pick teams, which is almost everyone, there was a couple Vikings, Chiefs, right? Of the top 5 teams in this pool, 23%, 22%, 18%, 18%, 7%. 3 of them lost. 3 of them lost. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, dude, you just should have picked anyone else besides the Rams, because it was like, well, did you take the Cardinals? L, right? Yeah. What a pathetic loss that was, by the way, by the Arizona Cardinals. The people in the Discord were tilting that one too. The people who were like, I don't want to do the Rams. I'll just do the Cardinals. Let's just get the Cardinals out of the way. It's like, whoops, yikes. But then the Bills even lose. You're like, I'll just take the Bills. Well, there's another divisional matchup, right? They were big favorites. They lose. And so I don't know. We don't have to draw like mega sweeping lessons from every single week. But I thought last week was like fascinating. It was the most fascinating week of the year, both from some chalk lost. I lost. I think I could have played it better, but I also don't think it was like inherently totally wrong to select the Rams. And we saw part of the reason why you drafted or you picked the Rams was because of what happened to the Cardinals, because of what happened to the Bills, and because we wanted to hold on to the Lions. The easy alternative would be the Colts, right? Someone should say you should have just taken the Colts, and I think that's very fair. I think that would be a very fair assessment. But it was a really interesting week. Like, that is a chaos. We haven't really had a chaos week like that in Survivor yet, and week 5 definitely was.
And we don't remember those weeks really going forward. The weeks that we remember where a lot of people are bounced is when heavy favorites get knocked out with heavy ownership numbers. And even I can still reference those. So week 6 next year, we might be doing this show, look back and not remember that week 5 knocked out 50% of the pool because it was 17% here, 13% here, 10% here, 8% here, right? Like, we might forget that there was an Armageddon week, but the Armageddon was just a number of teams knocked you out. And that's another thing that can happen.
Yeah.
You can be right about one, wrong about the other. And that's why, like, if you were doing double picks last week, it must have been especially a grind to get through. So if you did get through, shout out to you on the double pick sites.
Seriously, yeah. Shout out to anyone who took like the Colts. That 18% of people. What good job. You must be feeling on top of the world. The Colts people. Because like I said, just super quickly, and then we'll move on to week 6. Even outside of that, the top 5 in this pool again that I'm referencing, right? There's just like sprinkles on these other teams, and most of them lost. It's like people were sprinkling on the Chiefs, sprinkle on the Seahawks. Someone took the Ravens in this pool, right? Like someone took the Browns. It's like there's sprinkles on all these teams, and they all lost. So it was like, even if you got crazy contrarian, it wasn't that easy, right, to find a winner. And so there are just these weeks. Certainly, I wish I was still hanging around, but I think it was an awesome week to like kind of learn, and then it bled into Thursday Night Football, where you were just like, even I was not picking the Eagles, right? I'm going to get in to the week 6 stuff over on Splash Sports starting today, and start to try to crawl back some of my Survivor funds, but I was never considering the Eagles. And you're just like, as the game's going on, Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo are, headbutting each other and running for touchdowns. And you're just like, this is insane. Like this is just literally just week 5, part 2 with the Eagles going down. So let's talk about week 6 after that Thursday Night Football game. You called it not an easy week. So if we have another somewhat similar week to week 5, I would absolutely not be shocked. But where is your sort of head at heading into the rest of these week 6 matchups after Thursday Night Football?
Well, I do wish I listened to myself last week and took the Saints. That would have been nice to get through there.
That's a good call. Yep.
because I really think if I didn't take that Thursday night game, I was heavily leaning Saints last week.
Who beat the Giants, who then beat the defending Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
That tells you everything that you need to know about the last week.
And
of
if they
football.
played
Crazy.
next week, the Eagles would dog walk the Saints. So
Yeah, 100%. It'd be 42-7 or whatever, Eagles. And it's like the transitive property is all out of whack.
Yeah. So my head this week is, my overview is, what sucks is a lot of the teams that I would want to take are the road teams. And I think you can make that decision this week if you really need to. But there are a couple of home games that I do like. I think we should let's just talk about the easy one first. The one that everyone's gonna I think, gravitate to this week. And that's Green Bay at home against Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's as much of a slam dunk as a slam dunk is, for sure. But I think anyone in the field that still has Green Bay is going to take this game.
Yeah.
If you just want to get through, I get it. I'm not going to argue it. Like, if that's what you want to do, because we've talked about this before, taking the chalk is okay sometimes just to get through. You're creating leverage points. You don't have to create leverage points every single week of the season. Sometimes you do just got to get through. You'd prefer not to if you don't have to. It'd be great to hold on to Green Bay and play them at home again, later in the season. But if you feel like one of the other teams you've already taken is the only other way you'd want to go, then just take Green Bay and provide your leverage somewhere else throughout the rest of the year. I don't know where you stand on that one.
If especially after everything we just talked about with week 5, with let's just for easy rough math, half the pool got knocked out last week. If you just wanted to say, look, everyone's going to pick this team, they are, because everyone's thinking the exact same thing that we're talking about right now. Is, holy shit, last week was crazy.
Yeah,
but the Packers are the Bengals are really, really bad, right? That they're one of the worst teams in football, which is insane, but it just is. And the Packers are really good, right? And they're at home, so let's just get through. I'll deal with week 7 when we get to week 7. But I think this is where, so like for me, starting over in a week 6 contest, I want no part of the Green Bay Packers, because if everyone's going to take them, that's fine. They can advance, but I'm trying to set up, right? We talk about the leverage all the time. I'm trying to win this thing, and I want to set something up with the Packers for later in the season. But if the big difference, right? And the smaller the pool, right? There's 20 people left in your pool or whatever. Yeah, survive in advance. You can figure out your leverage later. Like, I totally get it. But kind of the bigger the pool, and then the later it started, right? If this is your from preseason, or if you hopped in week 3, the later it started and the bigger it is, the more I want to avoid the Packers, is sort of how I'm thinking about this week. But the smaller it is, and right, if this is a preseason one, I escaped Armageddon in week 5, right? I hid in the bunker and everybody else died, and the bunker in Indianapolis or New Orleans or whatever, and I'm alive and kicking. I think then I'm gonna take Green Bay in those.
Yeah, and I think that's totally the way to play it. If I do jump in one, I'm definitely going to jump in a new one next week. Maybe I do accelerate that timetable. I 100% agree. They are not a team that is on my radar. And so let's cycle back and start with the overseas game, or continue with the overseas game, I suppose. That's Denver at the Jets. And I like Denver quite a bit here for multiple reasons. And the reason I really like the Broncos over the Jets, I mean, they are 7.5-point favorites. There's no home stadium here. This is a travel situation to overseas. And a lot of your pool has already taken Denver.
Yep.
Because there's been 2 weeks that people have taken the Denver Broncos at this point that they've won. So I think if you're looking at a team to take that actually get you leverage off Green Bay, I have no issue taking Denver at all. I think they'd be in my top 3 or 4 picks for the week if I was looking at this particular game.
I totally agree. We'll give like a top couple, maybe a top couple non-Packers teams at the end. But just to add to what you said, I agree. They're probably my favorite. Denver is, like you said, a couple of things. One, a lot of the other favorites that we might have are on the road. So this being a neutral field, right? We would prefer it was in Denver, but then they would be like 12.5 point favorite, right? They would be bigger favorites if it was in Denver. But exactly what you said. So just look at it in your pool, of course. But in week 4, the Broncos were 16% in this pool that I'm out of now, which doesn't seem like super crazy. But then when you add in the fact that they were the stone cold chalk, 33% in week 1 in this pool, like there are not that many people. If you survived all the way to this point, there's already not that many people left in this specific pool, and a lot of them took Denver, so they don't
and a
have
lot of
Denver.
them will take Green Bay,
and then they'll take Green Bay. So you take Denver now, you have Green Bay later. You just right. It doesn't mean that those people will get knocked out because Cincy wins, but you're hoping they get knocked out later. And you take Green Bay against Carolina, right? They play Carolina sometime down the road, right? You take Green Bay at home against Carolina, and in that week they have to use someone else, and that's when you beat those teams, right? Or of course they get knocked off before then. But that's the thought process. Is right. We're the chess, not checkers. We're thinking multiple moves ahead, right, on this Green Bay Packers thing, and that's why the Broncos I think are really powerful this week. So yeah, they would be number 2 for me, obviously outside of the Packers.
Still powerful in new tournaments if you jump in there, but
definitely
they moved down. So that's the other thing. They moved down for me in the new tournaments as well, because they're just not providing the leverage. You set yourself up for that leverage if you're still alive.
Just straight leverage play in your
this is the time to use it.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is that's what we hope for, right? It's like, how do I get away from Green Bay? It's like, this is the specific situation you're hoping for.
Yeah, the next 2 I think we can hit on very quickly because I think they're sort of the same idea. It's the Patriots and Cowboys on the road. Patriots are on the road versus the Saints. Cowboys are on the road against the Panthers. They're both either 3 or 3.5 point favorites wherever you're looking. I like both. If I had to pick one of the 2, it would be Dallas, because I don't know how much I want to use Dallas later. And Carolina is just putrid. They are just bad. So if you're looking for another road team to take, I think we've gone through the Dallas schedule. It's not the greatest. This is a good spot to take them if this is a team that you just want to sort of use, get out of the way. And, their defense isn't that good either. Could be some sort of a shootout here, but I think Dallas's offense should handle this Carolina Panthers team pretty easily.
Yeah, I just think the offense is too good. The defense is definitely very bad, but we saw last week in a very similar, it was a eerily similar spot for the Cowboys against a bad Jets team on the road. The offense is just so good, even without CeeDee Lamb, that I think that they can overcome these really, really bad teams. The defense is very, very bad. There's no denying that. That's why it's a Carolina Panthers game with a 50 total. So I think that tells you the Cowboys defense is not very good, but I do prefer the Cowboys. Just because I think that, right, we said this probably like every single week, but it showed last week. The Saints are plucky. Like, they just beat the New York handily, quite frankly, beat the New York Giants, who at the time that didn't seem like a crazy thing, right? You mentioned potentially using the Saints last week in Survivor, but then the Giants are clearly not a total disaster because they go out and beat the Eagles this week. So the Saints are just like competent enough at home. Christian Gonzalez, not to get like super duper hand in the dirt, right, with player level takes, but like Christian Gonzalez is really important to the New England Patriots defense. I don't know if he's going to play, but he's questionable. And so if he doesn't play, their pass defense without him is really bad. Like, they lost to the Raiders without him, and they're 3-2 on the season because he came back, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, the defense is pretty good now, right? Because you have an all-pro corner out there. So that would be a swing part for me. I still prefer the Cowboys, but also, like, if maybe you've taken the Cowboys or something already, what could move the Patriots up is like, make sure Christian Gonzalez is playing in that game.
For sure. Chargers Dolphins, I just think is a non-starter for me. It's not a game that I'm going to go to.
Did you see the Chargers offensive line? It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not going great for old
No.
Justin Herbert right now. He's trying. They have no running backs. They have no offensive tackles. So it's a tough scene. The Dolphins are really bad, but I don't want to take the Chargers on the road in
They
their
have no
current
running backs either.
Yeah, Hassan Haskins with XFL tackles is the Chargers offensive. It's a little scary.
Yeah. So then that gets us to the game that I am super interested in, and everyone's probably going to roll their eyes, but if I'm starting a new survivor pool this week, I'm taking the Raiders at home against the Titans. Are they a terrible team? Yes.
Very.
But they are built the way the Raiders are built is the way to beat the Titans, which is they have a decent enough offensive line, they have a good running game, and they can apply pressure on the quarterback. And
Genty
that
and Crosby.
Yep,
Genty
GT and
and Crosby.
Crosby. And that's what's going to happen in this game. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think it's going to be a lot of run. Questionable pass. Run. But I just think that the Raiders are going to sort of mop the floor with the Titans, make it a little bit messy, win, and then I just never have to think about the Raiders ever again in Survivor if I get through.
Dan, they're not. If you watch on Red Zone, you're not going to see them the rest of the season anyway. So
you ain't going to see this game on Red Zone now. You'll
yeah,
see one play.
If you are not in, if you're not in an area where you can watch this game locally, and you only watch on Red Zone, you can just check the ESPN app or whatever scoring app that you use and figure it out later, because there ain't going to be a lot of Red Zone action. Yeah, I it makes me feel very uncomfortable because the Raiders are really bad. I do think better days are ahead for probably both of these teams, but also for the Titans. I thought last week it was mostly the Cardinals' incompetence losing that game, of course. Notably, I just got to get it off my chest live on a show or some way. Obviously, this was the Amari DiMercato pulled an AD Mitchell, pulled a Deshaun Jackson, right? Pulled all these idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Just truly inexcusable, right? Like there's just, especially if you're like Deshaun Jackson, it's like, okay, like, he's an idiot, but he's really, really good, right? Like he's a really good footballer. When you're like a fringe NFL play, like if Amari DiMercato got cut by the Cardinals today, I'm not sure another team would pick him up because he's not very good. To do that is so inexcusable. Just like for your own self-preservation, dude. Like you might have one more year to make $1 million or whatever in your life, and then you're gonna go sell insurance for the rest of your, of your days. Just crazy. But then the Cardinals, right? So they're still winning. They're heading into the 2-minute drill. The Titans have used all of their timeouts, but it's like there's like 2:07 left on the clock. So like if you run generally you would say, well, run the clock, right? Like or they might have had a timeout left. Anyway, it's not important. You would normally say, right, if there's 2:40 left, well, run the ball because 40 seconds is going to come off the clock, or they're going to use their timeout. When there's 2 minutes and 7 seconds left and it's 3rd and 9, throw the fucking ball. Try to get a first down and win. If you get a first down, it's over. You're going to win the game. They ran the ball and ran 7 seconds off the clock, and that gave the Titans enough time to come, so you have 2 full minutes and decent field position. It was so brain dead by everyone on the Arizona Cardinals that it was so hard to imagine. But I also feel like they showed some life finally. The Titans did this season. They get, I believe, JC Latham back, offensive lineman, who's going to be big for them. But that's running into, if they're going to like be more successful running the ball and through the air, that's still the strength of the Raiders defense in terms of up front, right? Their secondary is really bad, but Crosby and Co are really good up front on that side. And I think Genty is just going to have a monster week at home. We don't talk that much about East to West, but it is East, it's still a long travel and all that. So anyway, I mostly just wanted to rant about the Arizona Cardinals, but I'm mostly on board with the Raider stuff like you are.
Yeah, I'm also fine with DiMercato getting his ass chewed out on the sideline, to be honest, because
he shouldn't punch him in the chest.
He shouldn't touch him.
He should get MF'd for sure, but he shouldn't. Also, not twice. Like, okay, we got it, dude. Like, he wanted to punch a hole through his chest.
Yeah. So the other thing with that is just it costs people jobs, right? Like that's the other problem. Sorry,
Mhm.
there's like construction going on outside my house.
It's normally
Uh,
there's dogs barking over here, so I think it'll be we'll replace it with some hammering and nailing. Anybody else that we need to talk about?
I think people are gonna go to the Chiefs for some reason. Just from
That would be
just from
insane.
what I'm hearing, like the way people are talking about just like putting money on the Chiefs this week, and I just think that this could be we could just see Lions Ravens 2.0 here, where it could just be
Totally.
a boat race game, and I don't love it. Like, why would you take the Chiefs in this spot? Maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to bet them. But I think that's something that I'm just not interested in. Everything else, I'm just kind of meh on. I just like if you wanted to take the Commanders at home, fine. I don't love it. I don't think that I would take the Steelers at home against the Browns. I think that's
No.
something that I would just avoid as well, just because of how good that Browns defense is. The Browns almost got another win last week. They almost made
Mhm.
the survivor pools even crazier,
Mhm.
right? So like,
Should have won. Should have won. Honestly,
yeah. So
they
I
should have.
don't think there's much more. Like even Buffalo on the road against Atlanta, I don't love.
I think
So
Washington is like in the conversation because I don't know how much we're gonna. It's like they're better than Dallas, but it's kind of in that same vein where right you're like they're not the Raiders, but you're like, how comfortable am I ever really gonna feel with the Commanders? They're not quite
yeah,
as good as last year. I don't think specifically the pass defenses. Woof, not very good.
yeah,
So that's a little bit of the concern, but it they're playing the Bears, who are not great, but if the Bears went into Washington and upset them, would anybody be surprised? No, absolutely not. It's kind of a right. They're 4.5, yeah, 4.5 point favorites, so they're pretty much neutral in terms of team, overall talent, overall power rating. So I just think that they're worth mentioning, but I don't think they'll end up cracking my list. Like even in this week 6 pool, I don't think that I'll venture into the Commanders. But again, like you said, if you have to pick two teams or something like
yeah,
that, and maybe you've already taken the Packers or you don't want to take the Packers or whatever, it gets thin really fast this week.
yeah. They could be on the list for a 2-team pick. I don't think I would use them on a single, but like to that point, if you're really looking for something, that's the other way to go. Everything else, I think, like I said, Bills on the road against the Falcons. I'd rather take the Bills somewhere else. It's the Raiders for me, man. I'm Raiders. I like the Broncos. I get the Packers. You could take the Cowboys, but I think that's kind of
Top
be
three
my pool.
non-pack, yeah, top three non-Packers. Who is it?
It's Raiders, Broncos, Cowboys, I think.
I'm still putting Broncos 1. Can't wait for Bo Nix to throw 3 interceptions in London or something. Uh, but I'm still gonna go. I'm gonna go Broncos. I think I like the Cowboys over the Raiders,
Sure.
but those are my top. But I would agree. I would agree with the top 3 a slightly different order than you. So Broncos, Cowboys, Raiders for me.
And we hold no ill will if you decide to go Packers, but
No,
unless it's a new pool,
yeah, don't take him in the
then
week
you're a
6,
fish.
right? Yeah, don't take him in the week 6. And it takes one to know one as a Rams picker from last week, right? Like I'm well aware of what it's like to be the donkey after Thursday night football. So I'm with you, Eagles guys. But don't take the Packers in your week 6. Save the Packers for later. Don't be like they're going to be real, even in the new pools. They're going to be real popular. So
So popular.
save them for later, and that's it. I got nothing else. I'm lamenting the Rams and the fumbles and everything. It was a painful way to lose. Mac Jones, like you said, dead bodies, and Mac Jones was like dead at one point during that game and comes back and leads the charge. Just total anarchy. That was week 5 and on into week 6 on Thursday Night Football. Total anarchy. We'll see how week 6 goes the rest of the way, but good luck to everybody in your pools, and we'll see you guys in week 7. Cheers.
Peace.